Well, I'm not really in any hurry, except for 9 o'clock is my bedtime, and my presentation takes like 2 hours. So I'm going to fall asleep here halfway through it. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Anyway, good evening, everyone. My name is Brian, KA3VSP. You may know me by other call signs, but this is my original call sign here. My legal call sign again. So good to see a lot of people here. People I haven't seen in years, Jim. And also I have my friend Mark N3JPW, who we've been working with audio issues. If you saw us talking on HTs, I think he's got that all straightened out. He's also helping me with the Packet venture. Packet radio, many of you I'm sure are familiar with it, and most of the presentation would be common knowledge, but I'm going to do it anyway because I spent a lot of time on it. Do I need to share my screen? Yeah. Can everybody see that screen there?
Yeah.
Okay. For those that know me, 30 years ago or so, was really very active in packet radio in Pennsylvania, and did a lot of things with the Phil nodes in Philadelphia, connecting to DuPont Experimental Station and such. In the late 90s, I went and bought a condo and moved into that. And that basically, I just moved away from amateur radio for a number of years to around 2007 when I came back. And when I came back, I was surprised that packet radio was almost non-existent. So over the years, I kept looking at it and trying to see what could be done about that and everything. And then all of a sudden on the forums, threads started popping up. And if you've ever been on an amateur radio forum about a packet radio usage, those threads are usually pretty popular. So I started looking at things, started playing with NOS again, and JNOS and BPQ. And I found another one. Most of that went mostly internet based, which I wanted to stay away from. My main concern was RF links. So I found another group down in North Carolina that runs the Tarpon group, Terrestrial Amateur Radio Packet Network. And I looked at them and was very impressed by their setup. So I started putting up Tarpon nodes and building Tarpon nodes and trying to get people, trying to talk to people. That's basically what my main objective is here, is to gain interest for amateurs that want to participate, maybe put up nodes and build our network. So I developed DEPN.net, Delaware Packet Network.net, to document and promote our activities. And so that's what I'm going to cover here. Like I said, we started with Tarpon, and then we moved into BPQ 32, which I'll cover all that here. For the most part, every time we get on an amateur radio repeater and start talking about packet, there's always someone that pops in there. Yeah, I used to do packet. Is that still around? I got an old TNC in my attic or basement. Can I still use that? And that's basically how we go. Most people today, when they think of packet, they think of APRS or WinLink. And this is just something different. There's all kind of facets about packet radio. There's all kinds of things that people are doing with it. So anyways, like I said, my objective is to develop a regional and statewide RF linked AX25 packet radio system. And my objective here is to talk to anybody interested who is interested in participating and maybe want to put up a node or participate in some way in the area. So that's what I'm doing here. This packet radio still exists. This is a very common question. Matter of fact, on the Raspberry Pi Facebook page today, one of them, somebody posted a thread about MFJ's TNCs that they're selling. And one of the questions was, is packet still around? So like I said, if you've ever seen a thread on the forums, they're usually pretty popular. The map here shows active BPQ packet nodes in North America. Notice around Michigan and Ohio and California, they have statewide systems connected. That's what I'm trying to do here in Delaware. Now, again, most of this is using the internet, but again, we'll talk about that. Besides the obvious uses, I already covered all this, such as APRS and OneLink AX25 radios. Packet radios still exist worldwide. Maybe not as widely used as 20 or 30 years ago, but still in use and gaining popularity. Some states such as Michigan and California have statewide RF packet networks. AX25 packet is still widely used for worldwide error-free keyboard-to-keyboard chatting, BBS messaging, NTS message forwarding, and emergency communication use. And this is Delaware. So this is what I'm trying to expand on. The two nodes here are my two nodes here in Newcastle. Mark's at the time was down. Mark is in Newark. He has a node here. The node over here is Rising Sun, which I have that node. It is not currently on the air. I need to get RF on that. The group up here in Delaware County, they're doing a couple of interesting things with not only BPQ nodes and RF links, but also mesh, which I don't know if Paul, I don't know if you've been talking to Roger about his W4RFJ, but if not, I suggested that he contact you. Roger contacted me about 4 months ago. So I don't know if they've contacted you, Paul, yet or not.
They haven't, but I'd be happy to talk to them.
Okay. So he's got, Roger has some pretty unique things in mind for that. Mesh is also on my radar, and I did talk to you down at the Hamfest in Georgetown 2 or 3 years ago about that. That's just something that I need to work on. The station down in Baltimore and the station in New York were connected to. This gentleman here is trying to get into Delaware as well, and he's looking to put a node in Salisbury, Maryland, and then work his way up. So we're working together on that. Packet radio of yesterday and today. Again, this is pretty much common knowledge stuff here. How packet radio works, you have usually a user station, such as old-fashioned TNC, terminal node controller, connected to a radio, connected to an antenna. You also can use a sound card. Sound card modems are very popular today, and you load software on your PC or laptop or Raspberry Pi, which is pretty popular, to facilitate all that. And back, how that works is you have a node or digipeater up high up in a tower or a building or a mountain ridge, that the two stations, if they can't connect directly, they digipede or connect through the node. So that is a very typical packet system right there. Packet stations connect to node BBS on a single simplex frequency. So all of these stations are on the same frequency. And with that, with multiple packet stations on a single simplex frequency, it's quite common for packet collisions to cause delays. Also, the packet users running a TNC or sound modem are basically users with no or limited resources. Basically, they connect to a node or BBS, and that's basically about it. Another typical setup is packet stations without that aren't high up in a mountain or tower top. You got TNCs, sound card, and most TNCs. Hang on a sec. I gotta figure out how to hide my thing because I'm hiding my my screen. Okay, there you go. Most TNCs have a node or digipeater feature which can be enabled, which allows users to digipete through that to gain extra distance. This allows distance packet stations to either connect to the node or another station or digipete through that station, increasing the range. I just said that. So we have three stations here, Station A, Station B, and Station C. Digipeating station, Station B has a TNC that has a digipete enabled. The purpose of Station B is it will retransmit. Station A to Station C can't connect to each other. So Station A will connect to Station B using a via command in order to connect to Station C. So transmissions will go from Station A to Station B. Station B will transmit to Station C. Then Station C needs to acknowledge that. So it transmits back to Station B and then back to Station A. So you can see that that could be cause delays there. If for any reason Station C does not acknowledge the packet, that packet is considered lost after a certain period of time, which Station A will need to retransmit that packet. So that's the problem with digipeating. Proposed solutions for the Delaware Packet Network. BBQ32 is a very popular application. It has a node, BBS, and worldwide conference chat. Originally developed in the 1980s by John G8 BPQ, BBQ32 allows computer running Microsoft Windows, Linux, or Raspberry Pi to act as a NetROM compatible AX25 node, full service BBS with forwarding and conference chat. This system in the center here is the BBQ32 node, and the stations, Station A and B, are just users with TNCs and radios. You notice that the BBQ32 is connected to KISS TNCs. There could be multiple TNCs here connected to multiple radios for multiple ports. You also notice that the node is also connected to the internet through the router, which can be used for forwarding bulletins or mail traffic and worldwide chat. I currently have this type of system set up on 145070 in Newcastle. And we'll talk about the problems here. Again, supports for multiple access, multiple ports to access multiple TNCs and radios for RF ports and links. Also supports internet connectivity to other BPQ nodes via AXIP and Telnet access. That's over the internet. The advantages of BPQ32, it's widely supported. Again, it was developed in the early 1980s, and John is still supporting it today with updates. And every day he's answering questions. There's a group IO group for this. He's still out there, still supporting it, still updating it. So a lot of support for this. It's easy to configure and maintain. There's the documentation is a little bit scattered, but there are people that can help you with this. And once you get the right help or get the right documentation, it's pretty straightforward. It can link to remote sites and nodes via AXIP over the internet. It has worldwide BBS forwarding and conference chat. Versions for Windows, Linux, and Raspberry Pi, and it is WinLink RMS compatible. Right now, that the WinLink RMS is something I'm looking to add to that. I just have not done that because we're working on other parts of it. Now, the disadvantages are requires a node to be installed at a high location to serve a large geographic area. That's the problem I have right now in Newcastle. I'm 89 feet above sea level. The antenna is 15 feet above the ground. My height above average terrain is very poor here. North and west, I could probably go 5 miles. South, I can probably go 20 miles. And in the South Jersey, I can go about 40 miles. Because that's in my house. When I was working with the Phil nodes in Philadelphia, we were in a high building in Philadelphia, and we served a large geographic area. So that's where this node needs to be, in some type of high area to be really effective. So that's the disadvantage here. Requires internet connectivity for BBS and chat forwarding, and connection to remote node locations unless RF links are available. And if you remember back to the Delaware map, I'm the only one here. RF to Delaware County is very weak. We've tried that, and it's not really reliable. Packet users continue to access the node on a single RF port, single simplex frequency, increasing the potential for packet collisions. Again, all these are on the same radio frequency. And it does not support our original plan of RF linking VHF and UHF packet within the state, initially anyway. This can be configured with nodes via RF, and you don't have to rely on AXIP over the internet for forwarding. But the thing is to get more nodes in place, which is why I'm here tonight. I'm going to stop my share and go to another screen here. Actually, I'm not no, that's not going to work. Let me share my screen for okay, does everybody see my screen now? That shows up top connected?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a terminal program by BPQ, BPQ term it's called. You can also use Telnet or another terminal program such as PuTTY or anything else you have will also work. So basically this is, I'm now connected to my node, which is NCDE. That stands for Newcastle, Delaware.
Hey, can I hook up my VT100 to it?
I'm sorry?
Can I hook up my VT100, my deck terminal?
Probably not.
Or Tandy Model 102.
Yeah, now we're showing our ages now.
Yeah, I just got rid of my screen here. Hang on a sec.
Yep.
I was doing a Zoom meeting last Sunday with one of my clubs, and I was talking for about 15 minutes before somebody told me I wasn't sharing my screen. Anyway, I'm connected to NCDE, Newcastle, Delaware. My node call sign is KA3VSP, and BBS alias is VSP BBS. Once you're connected, you can do question mark for help info. We'll bring up the info file, and you can see I have 4 ports currently assigned. I have two RF ports, a telnet port, and an AXIP over the internet port. The port 1 is on 145070. Port 2 is on 70 centimeters, which is now pointing out to rising sun area for UHF backbone for that node once that gets put up in place. Telnet access and the AXIP is what I use for forwarding over the internet to Delaware County, York, and Baltimore. BBS, if those that were familiar with BBS's 30 years ago, they basically still operate the same way. The thing about this, though, is the messages are kind of boring. There's really not a whole bunch there. Well, there's probably about 50 to 100 messages a day, but I was talking to my friend Mark yesterday about this. They're not like they used to be. But there is still stuff there. If you need to or want to communicate with people, you have a family member lives across the country and they're on packet with a local packet bulletin board, it'll still forward. It still forwards NTS traffic. So that's basically about it. I mean, if you're familiar with packet bulletin boards, it still operates the same way. There was something else I wanted to show you there. I can't recall what that. Oh, the nodes. Once you're connected to a node, if you type nodes or N, it shows a list of available nodes. Up until 2 days ago, I used to have like 240 nodes in here, but a lot of it was just repetitive. I can connect to any node. BHMD is in Baltimore. Oops. Okay, now I'm connected to the node in Baltimore. Now I can do an info on his system. I can do a node list. And these nodes lists get pretty impressive. So transmitting this over RF will take a really long time. That's why I started to limit my nodes. But you can see there's other nodes, 4 station. There's a OH5RM that we can connect to. There was an Australia, Sydney. There he is. So I can connect. I'm connected to Sydney, Australia now. Okay. The problem with this is it's over the internet. What fun is that? Okay. So that is Node and BBS. There's also worldwide chat. Again, if you type help, you see the chat command here. And there's chat right now, and there's 4 users connected. 2 in Ohio, 1 in Michigan, and me. And you can see that some of them have been inactive for quite a long period of time. So there's all kinds of things you can do with this. This actually gets kind of busy on the weekends. Sometimes you'll have 20 or 30 people around the world connected to chat. But again, It's all over the internet. We can do the same thing locally and regionally within the state. We can create a statewide talk group, and it'll just be statewide. But right now, that's the worldwide chat feature there. I'm going to go back to my presentation here. All right, everybody see my the PowerPoint presentation again?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is the second system that we have up and running in North Delaware. The Tarpon system, Terrestrial Amateur Radio Packet Net Network. Tarpon. Again, this is a group out of North Carolina that took the BPQ software and modified it to be only to utilize only RF links. It's very well supported, and you'll see a couple of positive things about this and a couple of negative things as well. So here's the big negative. Okay, this is a typical Tarpon system. If you take a look at this map, you'll notice something real quick. Everybody's connected to someone else. There is no node. Every station is its own node. So
it's not a spoken hub.
That's correct. So this one user down here on the left has one TNC, has a Raspberry Pi connected to one TNC, one radio. And because it's point-to-point links, Yagis are preferred. And they're all on different frequencies. Now, that's actually an advantage. But like I said, this station down here is connected to this station over here on 144.910. This station has 3 links, one here and 2 Yagis, and so forth. And it branches out. And that's how the system is built.
So Brian, this is a half duplex transmission?
Yes, that's correct.
So it's not-
However, it's because it's on separate frequencies, you eliminate packet collisions, number one.
Right.
So the data throughput is increased. And we also have a couple other tricks that we're working on, which I'll talk about. This system supports 1200, 4800, and 9600 baud. There is talk of 300 baud HF, but that has not been put in place yet. Another disadvantage here, and I'm going to be repetitive here because I have this in text. Say this station over here goes down for whatever reason. It basically, it basically will disconnect 2 stations from these other stations. So that's the problem there. So these are full-time nodes that should be kept online 24/7.
So there's no self-healing like a mesh.
Exactly. Yep. And to better visualize this, this is the Newcastle or the North Carolina system. Each one of these are separate nodes. And you notice that some of them have single links, others have 2 links. This guy has 1, 2, 3, 4 links. This guy over here has 3 links, 1, 2, and 3. And that's the downfall. When I start talking to people about Tarpon, and then they realize that they may have to put up a second or third radio and a second or third TNC and a second or third antenna, that's where everything starts falling apart. However, the emphasis is in the reliability of this system. There's no need for a high tower or high location with this. All you need is a node that can connect to 1 or 2 or 3 neighbors.
Well, I know what node I'm going to cyber attack on that chart.
Okay.
I'm gonna take out east and west. I'm going after Raleigh, man. I'll take Raleigh out, and you can't talk east, can't talk to west.
Right. Okay. Well, North Raleigh here is Tad. He's the inventor, basically. He's the brains behind Tarpon.
Right.
And if you do go on YouTube and do Tarpon, look up Tarpon, you'll see him. You'll see his videos. He's very unique, and but he's very enthusiastic about this, and he'll talk and talk and talk.
If there's an outage at his site, there's an enormous amount of connectivity lost.
Yeah. Right.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said if that site goes down, there's an enormous amount of connectivity that is lost.
Yes, that's correct.
You end up with a bunch of islands.
Yep.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. That's a critical node.
This site here is actually in a business office. And these guys here, if you visit the Tarpon homepage, which I'll talk about, they have everything's backed up, backup power, backup radios, everything's backed up. So these guys are really into it. And this system is growing. I mean, it's unbelievable. And there's Tarpon systems all over the world, but they're small, 2, 3, 4 nodes. But the North Carolina group, they're really pushing it.
So I don't understand, why wouldn't I mean, if I was really enthusiastic about doing this, I don't understand why wouldn't they lift some of the innovations that IP the IP packet has. Just take the header of an IP, certain characteristics of an IP header, and you put it in your header of your RF transmission, and you come up with a way to just do a very simple net management.
Well, actually, we developed our own forward error correction called IL2P.
Right.
Okay, which is a modified version of AX25. So this group, not only did they put this together, they have their own web browser, so you don't need a terminal. They developed their own TNC, which I'll talk about. Hang on a sec. What's wrong, Barb? I don't know who my wife's talking to. So anyway, we'll talk about that.
The house is on fire.
Yeah. So anyway, here's the Delaware Nodes. Okay, this is me down here in Newcastle, and there's Mark up there in Newark. So we're looking to expand this. And if you go to depn.net, you'll see that I have demo nodes available if you want to try it out. If you have a radio and antenna, I have Raspberry Pis with TNCs that I'm willing to lend out if anybody wants to give this a shot and see what this is all about. Anyway, so here's Tarpon. And again, this is going to be a lot of repetition here. Runs a modified version of popular BPQ32 node, BBS and chat. Well-supported, community-developed Tarpon home browser, which we see down here in the right-hand corner, which will also show in the live presentation. And we also developed they have also developed their own TNC, which is shown up here on the right. It's an AX25, 1248 and 9600 baud TNC with AX25 and their modified version of AX25 IL2P, which offers forward error correction running at 9600 baud. It's gaining popularity. They have an email list. There's a couple packet Facebook groups that it's very popular on. It is very easy to configure and maintain. There are step-by-step instructions on their website, and they have a group IO email page as well. And the people there are very supportive. You'll get an answer within minutes of posting. Everything's very expensive. Okay. The Raspberry Pi, this thing will run on a Raspberry Pi 2 The Tarpon TNC, their website says $30. I put around $40 with shipping. The TNC, the board, and the chip, the pick chip, is $7 on Etsy. And then the parts, we have a parts list on tarpon.net that you can order from DigiKey. And with shipping, everything comes out to about $36, $38. One of the other advantages is every station is an active node, and the network grows as neighbor nodes are added by connecting to an existing active node. Every station has a single neighbor on a single specific simplex frequency, which increases data throughput. Nodes are connected to neighbors, expanding the network, which eliminates the need for a node to be placed at a high location, tower, or building top. That is my main advantage right there, because I did the high tower stuff in the 90s. That stuff's hard to come by anymore. I mean, we were on top of the Navy Hospital in Philadelphia. We can't have that anymore. Well, the hospital's not there anymore, but just putting anything on a building anymore is, I just don't see it. It'll be remarkable if that stuff ever happens.
So, question I have, Brian, on this. So,
I'm sorry?
So I have two questions. One is, it sounds like, are you running a UHF because it's a lot cheaper to put an antenna up, a UHF, Yagi, as opposed to putting a VHF antenna? Is that correct? You guys use UHF?
You can do 6 meters, anything that supports 1200 baud or 9600 baud. But of course, your neighbor also needs to support 9600 baud too if you do that. I have 2 nodes. One node with 2 TNCs, 1 VHF, 1 UHF. Same with my BPQ system, the VHF and UHF, and we'll see that in the live demonstration.
Would it be interesting because we got a bunch of fellows on this line here who probably can comment better than myself. You got Dave Scott, who basically is the ecom guy, as you know, right?
Yes.
And so, a lot. He's trying to set the network up. We're doing a lot of tests. That could be following. This is a big part of what he's doing, Dave. He's trying to get readiness, establish the ecom readiness. The one thing that would be interesting is something like this could be a good business case for ecom if you use this in the background of while you have voice going on with for ecom. You can use this as a data exchange on the back end, in the background. Like in other words, come up with a business case that would kind of give it a purpose.
Yeah, one thing about Tarpon, they have specific rules that they call it, and there's no internet connection, so there's no one link.
No, that's right. That's how we want to play in ecom. We don't want to live on the internet.
Okay.
I mean, that's the internet is like there only as a convenience.
Yeah, I'll reference you to the tarpon.net page, because they do talk about ecom and WinLink and all kinds of other things, and how they can either participate or shy away from. So basically, they want to strictly stay RF linked only.
Yeah, I mean, the ecom folks can use the designated frequencies they have now for using for voice connectivity as such. And then having the ability to have a secondary back end data exchange going on where we can do the WinLink and even do some chatting, at a command center. For instance, the command center that's up on Route 13 that Dave has access to, where they, that's I don't know how many stories building there is, but they have antennas on the roof right now in support of ecom.
Right.
So I'm just saying, these are thoughts. I mean, that's all I'm doing is sharing some thoughts right now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, the whole objective here is to get people start talking. Like I said, we can either go to BPQ32 and with RF links or Tarpon. The main advantage of Tarpon over BPQ is we don't need a high location.
Has anyone ever done a hybrid of both?
Well, again, we don't want to mix the Tarpon with the internet with AXIP.
I got that.
So,
RF side. Okay.
And that's one of the advantages. RF links only, and no internet. That I put that under advantages.
Right.
But of course, with advantages, there are disadvantages. The disadvantages: RF links only, no internet. It is a closed network, meaning that we can't participate in getting messages from the packet bulletin boards unless they're copied and pasted. And again, if you go to tarpon.net, they talk about all that. Only Tarpon neighbors can fully utilize BBS chat and node functions. No outside BBS or chat forwarding. Another part of that is even though we have Tarpon nodes put up, a non-Tarpon non-Tarpon station, I should say, can connect to us. And they can chat, they can participate in the chat and everything. But if they connect to the BBS, they can't send or receive mail messages unless they are directed to the sysop for that particular node. It will not forward a non-Tarpon user. So that's one of the disadvantages here. Each node station may be comprised of up to 2 or more radios, TNCs, and antenna systems which connect individual Tarpon neighbors. Again, this has been, once people find out about that, that's usually where it stops. They're like, no, I'm not putting up multiple antennas and stuff like that. The Yagis are relatively small. They're not real big Yagis. Radios, if you go on tarpon.net, they're buying these old commercial radios for packet use. And if somewhere on tarpon.net, they say a whole system, a single node and single port with radio and antenna will cost less than $100. You could probably do that. I go with HRO so close, it's a nightmare. I'm buying things left and right there. Tarpon neighbors must be in a simplex range of an active Tarpon node to be added. So I'm in Newcastle. If you're down in Middletown and we can't talk simplex, it's probably not going to happen. We need someone between us. Each Tarpon node must be willing to add hardware to accommodate another Tarpon node, neighbor node. Again, that's up to that user how they wish to do that. But again, it's relatively inexpensive. You can get away. Raspberry Pis, the TNCs that Tarpon's selling or put together, it's pretty inexpensive. Another disadvantage is every station is an active node in the network. Each node is expected to be operational 24/7. If one station goes off the air, it affects neighbor connections and disrupts the network. No WinLink or NTS support unless it's copied and pasted. So, and that's part of the Tarpon rules. So they're the disadvantages. I don't know where I'm at in my presentation. Anyway, that's my node right there. That's online right now. The Raspberry Pi below, and you got the 2 Tarpon TNCs there that connect to the radios. That's exactly what my node looks like right now. I'm missing a slide. I sure am. Anyway, I wanted to show you Tarpon. Let me share my Tarpon home screen here. Tarpon Home was written by one of the Tarpon users in North Carolina, and they are currently updating that for new features. Everything's browser-based, connects to the Raspberry Pi from your home computer, tablet, or whatever. And it basically has three functions. Chat function, which you can see I'm connected right now to Mark N3JPW up here. Like I said, in a heavy chat, you'll see 20 or 30 people here. So if I type to Mark, that's going to go out. That's going out right now. And if Mark's still awake, you should see a reply from him momentarily. And there he is. So that's how chat works. And the more people you have, the more colors you'll have on the screen. Everything's color coded. There's help. It shows you all kind of functions and everything. Node shows you the monitor for the node, any activity over the frequency. And then BBS. Mark, you want to do me a favor? Send me a mail message on Tarpon. This will automatically update, play a little ding, and you'll see a mail message come in. Mark's a slow typer. I should have had that done before. So anyways, so that is Tarpon. Again, there's two systems that I'm looking at. Of course, if anybody wants to talk about other systems, JNOS, anything else like that, I'm open to anything. Any conversations to move this project along. I am looking at mesh forwarding as well, connecting to mesh. Again, like I said, that's down the road. All kinds of things, but I'd like to get an RF linked system up, a packet system up within the state. Not only if the internet goes down, which people say can never happen, but something happened on Tuesday. So maybe it's me just missing the old packet days from the 1990s, or maybe it's me looking into the future. I really don't know.
Brian?
Yes.
If you'll allow me, I can try to relay the Civil Air Patrol experience with packet.
Yeah,
Okay.
Back from the early 90s up until about 2012, I was the director of radio communications for Delaware. And part of that involved, I wasn't really great on the computer end, but we did have a packet BPQ node up at the airport, and our system was based on more of the other model, the old model where you have a couple of really high sites, actually, namely one in Millsboro, one in Woodside, and one up in Bethel Township, just over the line up off Falk Road. And what really killed packet for them was not having an agreed upon paradigm as to what it was really supposed to be serving. I mean, some would say, oh, the internet did it because people could instantly email one another and stuff like that, even though as comm guys, we knew we were setting up for the time when the best way to get something written, at least on some level, was over the air. But I think it's even more elemental than that, though, and that is that one model has us connecting site to site, like what Tarpon and even conventional packet might be, and then the other model is last mile, or last 10 or 15 mile into a disaster area. And I think the model providing, well, first of all, I'd like to learn more about, become more of a mesh user. I actually bought a whole bunch of stuff for that purpose and never got to town on it, but that's another conversation. But it does kind of tie into the idea of getting into an area where comms are not so good, and that aspect of it at the time was a better selling point for real estate, and that's before cell phone companies started buying up every square inch of horizontal surface over 12 feet off in the air. The selling attribute was being able to serve DEMA or FEMA or whoever into an area that might get cut off, but the interest in packet kind of died because you had again the paradigm. Those who were distracted by the shiny object, the internet. They let the MCOM version of packet wither because they're still fixed on using it as a email server or something like that. So while I like what North Carolina is doing, imagine looking at your North Carolina map and having the better number of those nodes set up at firehouses. Station 21, for instance, it's right on the edge of the East Coast fall line and looks straight down at Newcastle, probably Smyrna for all I know. You could look up into North Wilmington to some other site like that, let's say Tallyville, Claymont, and you hook up some of these nodes at places that already have emergency power. They're quite literally operated by people who would give their lives for what they're doing, so they get the emergency services bit. You don't have to sell them too hard on it. If you were to arrange this thing using something like that, and then work on the last mile concept from any of those points outward into a target area or zone, or end users like us, that might become something you can work with, something you can expand.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with all that. So, like I said, we're just starting out with this. Actually, I've been working on this for about 2 years. So, but again, Mark N3JPW is the only node that we've been able to put up with Tarpon. The BPQ32, I was approached on putting up a node in Delaware by the York and Baltimore guys because they want to try to get into Delaware and build a statewide system as well. And they found that I was already trying to do that, so they encouraged me to go with BPQ32, which is not a problem. I mean, we can do RF links with that as well. But like I said, we need to get people interested. People who want to put up nodes, either BPQ32 or Tarpon or whatever else. And yeah, mesh is going to be a big part of this. Like I said, the Delaware County guys, they're doing something a little bit different than what I've heard of before, and I didn't really understand it. And I told them, I said, I got to put that on the back burner for now because I'm working on other things. But yeah, I mean, we can go all different types of directions with this. I'm just looking for people to talk to. That's basically about it.
In this day and age, I'm not sure, the mesh solution allows the emergency user, whether it's an EOC or elsewhere, to use tools that they're familiar with. Regular email, web browsing, telephony, all the things that they're used to they don't have to really learn much. And it provides all these services. So I'm trying to understand where this would fit in to that kind of world, given the types of services that it presents to the end user.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tarpon, the Newcastle, I keep saying Newcastle, North Carolina group, how they present this, how they promote this. They call it a messaging system between hams. I think they do talk about emergency communications on their website, but when you talk to them, it's more of a messaging system for amateur radio. That's how they're promoting it. I'll have to follow up with them on their thoughts on emergency communications. I haven't gotten that far yet, but that's something we can look at and discuss.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the hobby. But see, again, there's your paradigm. If you want something where the 5 or 8 of us here right now want something to play with, that's a wonderful thing. If you're talking about a potential to serve the public or a standby system, whatever else, it's got to be something that, as I think Jerry is sort of alluding to, it's got to be something accessible to those who would need it. It's got to be where they are and something they're halfway familiar with. Even if it's something somebody can come up with, say Outlook Express, and instead of going to an internet server, it goes to a PC on site because one of us have set it up, and it either goes by 1200 baud or by mesh if you're so lucky, out far enough that it finds the rest of the world. It might have to go 20 or 50 miles, but it gets there and then back out to the world. I think that's what MCOM would need. If you just want something to talk to, another FT8 type thing or another email chat thing between ourselves, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't see you getting a lot of support outside of the amateur community for it.
And that's my point exactly. I mean, right now I'm not looking. I told Tad, I says, because he wanted me to present this as a messaging system. And I says, he wanted me to actually change the name of my website to something. I can't remember what he said. I said, Tad, I'm not doing that because that's not how I see this. It's more, I see it more than a messaging system. So there's a lot of possibilities. We just need to talk about it and figure that out. Which way are we going to go with this? So basically, we're just looking for people interested who might want to participate.
Well, what about you guys are using UHF, VHF, and you're limiting it to 1200 baud, no more than 9600 baud. Have you looked at, since it's point to point, have you looked at 27 centimeters? 23 centimeters? Something very high up there in the spectrum that we have access to. That's point to point. That gives you a broader bandwidth.
I'm not familiar with anyone doing that. That's probably possible. I just don't know that right now.
This is and Frank Flippers, I don't know if you're still on, but this was a conversation Frank and I were having some time ago about you have these networks going up on VHF and UHF, and they're trying to put a backbone through Delaware for ECOM and for emergency services. And for me, working in the military, obviously we want to aggregate data on something of high bandwidth and then branch it out into down to more tactical nodes, we would call them, right? Same concept here. It's the idea is that if you can provide a backbone that's point to point using a high speed capability, then you can branch out.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, take Tarpon and
branch those nodes out, and you can actually run mesh in a more local fashion that's being connected up or aggregated up through a backbone that's running at a higher bandwidth. So concept. These are just concepts of saying that work with, because I think you see a lot of, not that there's resistance, folks saying, well, this, so what? Because it's just we're just doing point to point packet. And so this, what can we do to actually, expand on that? It's just, these are just thoughts, but like I said, my thought would be is as it's great as a backup for ECOM, while you can run a chat session in the background while you dedicate all those other UHF, VHF channels to the voice nets that they want to run these things on, so, so there's a business case for this. You just got to find the place to kind of give it itself. You know what I mean?
Right. Now the group in Delaware County is basically looking to do that. I didn't save their website. Hang on a sec.
I'm curious to see if anyone's ever ran even Tarpon or any of the BBS services using 23 centimeters. I mean, it's not common, of course, but my 9700 has 2300. I mean, I have 23 centimeters. I don't use it because there's nothing to connect up to.
You're talking what, 900 meg and stuff like that?
That's up at 9. Yeah, it's around up there.
Yeah, well, back in the same period, Wendy will remember this. We took a couple of 900 to 928 frequency hopping spread spectrum modems and got 37 nautical miles between a fixed site and an airplane.
Right.
And that's not very fast in terms of data, but it's a hell of a lot better than 9600.
But you got a guaranteed persistent service.
Yeah, but of course then it's still somewhat line of sight because it's 902, but it's a lot better than very strong Wi-Fi with the ubiquity radar dishes.
True. Right.
Brian, I can see this being very useful for ecom. Maybe it's because of my past history. And like Ted mentioned, Station 21, Mill Creek Fire Company, I'm a member of Mill Creek.
Ding.
We have a nice location there. I'll have to talk to the new chief that just got installed and see if we're allowed to put something on
Between Jerry Jr. and I, we could have that thing set up in a week.
Oh, no.
I've got radios sitting around in the attic, making the drywall fall. He knows how to make antennas.
I got a UHF, a VHF, radio that something like that I could stick it on there. As long as I'm using a small Yagi, I can put it on an antenna around my roof and point it at something.
We'll have to get together and figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting presentation, Brian. Thanks.
Okay, well, thanks again for having me. Like I said, is Paul still here? Yeah, Paul. I'm going to talk to Roger again up in Delaware County, have him get a hold of you about the mesh stuff. I just went to their website and it's their domain is still there, but the site's gone. It's basically a template. So I don't know what's going on with them. But he last talked to me in November, and I told him I couldn't participate in what they were doing at the time. But right now I know they have stuff connected in Delaware County, Georgia, and Kentucky or something. I have no idea how they're doing that.
Ooh, there's a lot of talk going on
Probably over the internet.
Yeah, well, that's what I told him. I says I'm not doing anything like that.
Yeah, but there are places in either Delaware County or Chester County that we could reach from our eBright site on mesh on 5.9 gigahertz or one of the other bands, but there are some line of sight possibilities there.
Yeah, when we were in the Navy hospital, I used to be able to see the Rollins building in Wilmington, and I wasn't really able to see eBright, but if I had a stronger set of binoculars or something, I'm sure I could have.
Yeah, you can see the sort of southern parts of downtown Philly quite clearly from up there. So I'm sure there are lots of places that we could connect to, and it's not that far.
Okay.
Well, I got to tell you this: if you guys have been paying attention, you see the buildings going up at the Star campus of the University of Delaware. They're pretty, they got some height on those buildings, the new ones.
Yeah, they also have a big landmass going northeast and southwest that
You might
right on
be
the
able
edge.
to get over that, though. You just might be able to get over that.
Maybe.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah,
Probably
you're up there.
in terms, at least of the mesh stuff, that I haven't seen those new buildings, but they might well be visible from the Windy Hills site.
So definitely for the Windy Hill site, Paul, for sure.
Yeah.
And you can look down south towards down towards Middletown with those buildings. The problem is when you go maybe southwest a little bit, you got Iron Hill there, and then you're pointing northeast, or directly north up into the Hockessin area. That tends to kind of put it in a bowl almost, Yeah.
Okay, does anybody, that's basically my presentation. My website is depn.net, where I've been documenting everything. There's some resource links on there. My email address is my call sign at awrl.net if you want to email me directly. If anybody has questions or want to follow up, feel free to reach out.
Brian, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Around here, thanks.
You put a lot of work into that. I'm sure we
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks a lot,
it.
Brian. Appreciate you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I don't know if Mark has anything. Do you have anything for us, Mark?
Only if access can be gained to the Star Campus buildings. That would be probably a really incredible thing for the whole network.
Well, I have some connections, but since COVID's been around, I have not been up to the staff.
Who runs that old DuPont site up there at Milford Crossroads? Army Mars used to have repeater up there, and it covered the whole planet.
Oh yeah, they did, didn't they?
Where's that at?
I think it's MBNA now, but there used to be a DuPont building up at Milford Crossroads, Possum Park Road and Paper Mill.
Oh, yeah, I know where that is.
Because limestone, that hill there. I mean, it's as high as almost anything else, and at least in that part of town.
And in this day and age, do you think this is possible? Getting in places like that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I know a couple 10-meter towers I can get you on here or there. I just don't know that that's going to be any better than anybody's house. Like Brandywine Creek State Park, but that's not going to help you a whole lot.
Right.
Lewis, I have a digi down there myself, but it doesn't connect to anybody. It's just, sites like that, I don't know. But as I said, in the last 25, 30 years now, that anything that you can put a pebble on gets turned into a cell antenna. What with nano cells and trying to cover every little thing and stuff like that. So I really don't know the answer to that unless you find somebody. Well, like the firehouses, because they sell their space too, but at least you have a stabbing chance of somebody who understands emergency services and is a safe bet they're going to have lights no matter what happens.
I know there's a bunch of towers on Iron Hill. I don't know who owns them.
Well, I see them every Sunday.
We've been working with the Christiana Hospital system, so we have mesh nodes on Christiana and Wilmington Hospital, and those are less likely to be populated by cell sites because they have their own thing going and they're interested in participating.
Yeah, and you have your foot in the door already, and certainly one at Christiana's new baby clinic and up at Wilmington. That'd be a fantastic place for 2 relays. That may or may not be the again it depends on the scenario you're going for, but sure, why not?
So the question I have for you guys on that one is, that's part of the that's Christiana Hospital, right? You're talking about?
Yeah. Well, both Christiana Hospital and Wilmington, yeah.
So what about just a quick question? I know we're Delaware, but I'm a stone's throw to Union Hospital. I'm on Old Baltimore Pike here, and they have a huge tower, even though it's in Elkton. It's just right on the border there. They got a huge tower sitting on top of that hospital.
Well, when the excrement hits the air handler, I don't think the state lines on a map are going to,
I know
matter a whole lot. So, we're all in this together.
I'm putting it out there, Ted. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that's a big tower up there, and it's a hospital. It's part of the Christiana network now.
Well, yeah. And it would certainly cover, again, our neighbors over there, they need help, and
right.
It's, one hand washes the other.
That would service the canal area, and looking down south.
Yep.
So, those are options. Okay. Any closing comments before we end the session? I think we got
just if anybody wants to contact me, depn.net or KA3VSP at ARRL.net.
And who would I speak with about getting active in the mesh type stuff in this area? Is that you, Paul?
That would be me.
Oh, howdy.
Hi.
I can burn stuff up as well as anyone, so.
Yeah, we've got all kinds of things going. Obviously the pandemic has put a damper on our deployments, but we do have a number of sites that have been up and running. I haven't been to Wilmington Hospital in a year, but that site's still up and running and happy.
Okay, well, I don't want to burn up everybody's time, but I've got at least 4 working Ubiquity antennas. A couple of them already have dishes on them. I've messed with them myself, but I do want to make sure they actually connect to the network. If I get to the right place where I'm looking at it and, prove it actually works, and then start branching out from there. But I guess we can talk about that offline.
Yeah, please. Just send me an email or something, and we can get a conversation going.
And what's that at?
Well, you can use my ARRL one, K3PGM at, I guess it's ARRL.net.
Yep.
Ted, I have his email. I can forward it to you.
Okay, well, that's cool. All right. Well, thank you everybody for that moment.
Okay, guys, time is up.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. For
Yeah, Brian,
thank
thank you. That really took a lot of work.
Take care, everyone.
All right, folks. Have a good night. We'll see you in a month. Keep the chatter up on the nets and the on the mailers.
Later.
Later.
The linear's warm.
Night, everybody.
Ciao.